Welcome. And good afternoon to all of you. My name is Engh, and I'm working for the Norwegian National Research Ethics Committees. I've had very good help from Anette Birkeland, Engh and Johannes Evrinsen in preparing this. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for this brilliant conference and for the opportunity to present a report card on the Norwegian systems to ensure research integrity. We have called it a broad approach, and the reason is that we have included in our system much more than research integrity in a narrow sense of the word. Our system includes working on research ethics, and it also includes all topics of science. The very idea of presenting country report cards on research integrity was born actually by Sabine in Rio 2 years ago. And our aim with this report card, with our report card, has been to make one that is informative for readers without any previous knowledge of the Norwegian system on research integrity, as well as for researchers based in Norway and the Norwegian community in a broad sense, including officials, media, and the general public. We want to use this report card for something else than just me telling you about it. In addition, we believe that such a report card could be a tool for benchmarking in order to encourage best practices, as also outlined by Sabine. Well, there are no templates for a country report card on research integrity, so our work has focused on developing a hopefully informative format, some parts being comparative to what we have already seen from other countries, while other parts are focusing on the unique elements of our Norwegian system. This is what was concluded from the Rio session, as Sabine spelled out. The report cards are to focus on systems, processes, and outcomes. So we have aimed to include this in our report card, as well as quite a few of the other parameters and lots of numbers that were suggested, stressing, also like Sabine, that the aim is not at all that report cards should be used for ranking or grading in any way. By contrast, the aim is that these cards could be useful for inspiration, for benchmarking, maybe for monitoring our own progress, comparing good practices between countries, empowering and raising of awareness. Wonderful. So we have been inspired by this when making our Norwegian report card. And here it is. Don't you even try to take it in full. This is just to illustrate what it looks like. To be sure that you don't try to take it in full, this is actually the Norwegian version. You may or you may not have seen the English version among the posters, but it's out there. And we have made a leaflet on the report card. You can find that just outside the entrance of this auditorium. So this is just to give you a general idea of the overall report card that we have made, and I will now go through the elements of the report card one at a time. This is some vital background information about my country, Norway. For those few of you who may not know, we are situated on the northernmost outpost of Europe. As you can see, we are a long and narrow country. We're also a small country, as our population is only 5.25 million people. But we have a large gross domestic product of approximately $74,500 US. So indeed, we are quite a wealthy country. When it comes to the scientific community, there are quite a lot of researchers too in Norway, almost 5,700 per million people, and 0.9% of the Norwegian population between the age of 25 and 64 have completed their PhDs. Going on to the next slide of our report card, we have illustrated the development of doctorates during the last 20 years in Norway. During this period, the number of doctorates per year has more than doubled. And last year, 1,410 persons completed their doctoral degrees, and interestingly, women. Can this be used too? Pushing? Something? Well, never mind. Women have now almost caught up with men, as can be seen from this illustration. The Norwegian government spends just 1% of the gross domestic product on research and development, which is not nearly as much as their expressed ambition. And the total research and development expenditure from all sectors amount to about twice as much, that is 1.9% of the GDP, or almost $6,000 million in 2015. So half of the research and development in Norway is paid by the government. The one and only centralized research council in Norway distributes about 25% of all research funding. And among their approximately 4,000 applications that were fully processed last year, 29% of the applications were granted money, and that is slightly up on the year before. As for the research institutions in Norway, on the right, these are some of the basic numbers, which indicates also the diversity of our research society. There are a total of 55 universities or university colleges, 39 larger hospitals conducting research activities. There are 48 research institutes with basic government funding, as well as 37 other research institutes and a number of administrative agencies undertaking research. Quite a jungle. This will be hard to read, but this is to show you that Norway has quite a long history for dealing with research ethics and research integrity through national committees. On our report card, we have chosen to present some of these main events and highlights on a timeline. Can you read it at all? Depends on where you're sitting. The first Norwegian Committee on Research Ethics within medicine and health was established almost 40 years ago in 1978. The system of regional ethical committees within the same field was established 7 years later, 1985. In 1990, a system of national committees on research ethics aiming to cover all fields of science was first established in Norway. The system consisted then, in 1990, and now still consists of 3 main committees: the National Committee for Medicine and Health Research Ethics, the National Committee for Research Ethics in Science and Technology, and finally, the National Committee for Research Ethics in Social Science and Humanities, which also covers law and theology. In 2008, an important subcommittee was established under the Social Sciences and Humanities Committee, and that is a separate committee for research ethics on human remains. I will get back to these committees later in the presentation of the country report card. Importantly, in 1993, the first of a series of guidelines on research ethics within their field was published by Engh, followed by equivalent guidelines from NENT, the other committee, in 2007. These guidelines have been produced by the committees in close association with the scientific community and have been very important tools to promote research integrity in our country. National guidelines on research ethics have also been made available within several specialized topics, such as internet research in 2003, the evaluation of qualitative research projects in medical and health research in 2008, research ethics on human remains in 2013, and last year, the use of genetic information in medical and health research. Another special thing about Norway is that research ethics and integrity has been regulated by law from 2006, when Parliament passed the Act on Ethics and Integrity in Research. The law entered into force the following year. This year, 2007, A new act named the Act Concerning Research Ethics has replaced the 2006 Act, when the role and the obligations of the institutions have been elaborated on. I will come back to this as well. With the 2006 Act, the National Commission for the Investigation of Scientific Misconduct was established, following a case of severe misconduct in our country. And from 2009, Norway also has a separate Health Research Act. So, this timeline has all led up to our current system for research integrity, illustrated here. Let's start in the middle of this slide. The committee system consists of 3 main national committees and a commission, as I have already explained. But let us just briefly repeat that, and I'd like to add some information to this. What do I want to add to it? Well, if we start out with the social sciences and humanities part, and then go on to the science and technology, they are advisory committees. And they are working preliminary with proactive work. They are also dealing with general topics and also on individual cases. The medicine and health part of this family, the committee, all research on medicine and health has to be approved prior to starting up in Norway. And those applications will go to a regional committee. There are 7 of those regional committees, and their decisions can be appealed to the national committee. On this whole system is served by a secretariat of workers, but the people sitting on the actual committees are all volunteers. They are from within the field of expertise as well as laymen. They are appointed by our Ministry of Education and Science, and they can sit there for 4 years, and then they can be reappointed only once. On this side, we have some of the central documents. I've already mentioned the Act Concerning Research Ethics. The purpose of that act is to ensure that research is carried out in the public and private sectors, that research is conducted in accordance with recognized ethical standards. We also have a national strategy on science and research, which is called the Long-Term Plan for Research and Higher Education, which has 3 primary objectives: to strengthen competitiveness and innovation capacity, to solve major challenges to society, to develop high-quality research groups. And we sort of read research integrity and ethics into at least the last 2 of those. We also, the committee system also has a vision, and that is to be the foremost resource for ethical, sound, and responsible research in Norway, nationally. If we look to the right-hand side of this illustration, we come to the institutions, which, of course, play a key role in our system for ensuring research integrity. And they are also regulated by law. And as you can see, they are obliged to make sure that research is performed. Well, I have to read that because I lost the paper. It's conducted in accordance with recognized ethical standards. Well. This part of the report card focuses on tasks and outcomes. As with the other presenters, we found outcomes to be the most challenging part of the report card. Does the system really work? Does research integrity in our country truly benefit from this system? and the resources put into it? Well, it has been interesting to take part in the Amsterdam agenda during this World Conference and to realize that we are all struggling to measure the outcomes of our efforts in terms of improved research integrity. So for the purpose of the report card, we have cheated a little and decided to present our products as the outcomes. Maybe on a later date, we can make benchmarks and then measure the improvements that are being made. That being said, let us start on the right-hand side of the slide, the institutional side. According to the Norwegian law, the institutions have to provide education in research ethics and to establish local committees on research integrity and handle relevant cases. The institutions are also obliged to make institutional guidelines on how to handle cases, including the involvement of these local committees. Each case will result in a statement, which we have put down as the outcome. Suspected cases of misconduct are also dealt with by the institutions, and all cases shall be reported to the National Commission. In cases of misconduct concluded by the institution, this can also be appealed by the perpetrator to the National Commission. On the other side of this slide, I have listed the tasks and the outcomes of the national committees. Our tasks are given by the Ministry of Ethics and Science and include, but are not limited to, making principles of research ethics known to the scientific community and to society at large. The main outcomes deriving from this task are guidelines, books, reports, our web page, our online research ethics library, including an English version. You're more than welcome to use it. Our independent magazine called Ethics in Science, and lots of different educational material. The second task is to provide a lookout nationally and internationally. There are several outcomes of this, but in the report card we have focused on the National Survey on Research Integrity that the committees are taking part in with several other collaborators, and which has been presented on this conference. International cooperation and participation in a series of organizations and platforms also answers to the task of providing a lookout. As for the task of giving advice on research ethics in general, the task of investigating cases of suspected research misconduct, and the task of approving medical and health research projects, we have summarized the outcomes as ethical approval, statements, recommendations, advice, stressing that in the interest of openness and transparency, these products are made public. The final task of the committee system is to stimulate debate and exchange of experience. For this purpose, we have established a number of relevant meeting points. I will not go into those in detail. In conclusion, I have shown you our Norwegian country report card, which describes our system, including our acts concerning research ethics and our committee system of autonomous national committees covering all fields of science. Visualizing the information on our country report card has been a key part of this process. Defining and presenting outcomes from the system have been and remains the main challenge. This report card will be made available on several platforms, of which perhaps the most important will be a future digital version on the web. This could potentially be part of an international website with report cards from other countries, such as those that are representing here today. This being the first attempt to present country report cards in this field, it remains to be seen how report cards could be used in strengthening transparency and accountability in the field of research ethics. But if nothing else, I believe that a country report card can be useful for inspiration, for benchmarking, for monitoring progress, for comparing good practices, and for raising of awareness. That was the ambition when the idea was established 2 years ago in Rio. Thank you.
Thank you.